Hey guys, it's Charlene. Today I'm using the new Hello Fall stamps. These are so cute. Look at all those little critters. We're going to make a really fun card. I'm starting out with a piece of white cardstock. This is the premium Color Me cardstock. It is perfect for using alcohol ink markers and things like that on. So I've got some alcohol marker friendly ink here, and I'm stamping out a couple of the critters and some of the fun little accessories. Got a tree stump and an acorn there. And I'm just going to stamp this once. When I am done coloring, I do off camera go ahead and restamp. So I leave those stamps sitting there in my Misty. And now I'm going to come in with some alcohol ink markers. This set's also great to color with watercolors or with colored pencils, whatever your preferred medium is. So the tree stump, I'm using some warm grays. I've got W2, W5, and W7 for the bottom. I've started using these warm grays for trees, and I think they just look more true to life with a warm gray rather than a brown. Because if you look at trees in nature, the bark isn't brown, it's kind of grayish. So I think it looks really nice, this color combination. And then for the top of the tree, I went with some E31 and E33. If you're ever at a loss for how to color your images, I definitely recommend doing an internet search for whatever it is that you're trying to color and finding a picture that you can try and mimic. That's what I did with this cute little fox. I wasn't sure what color to color him, and I found this beautiful fox picture that had this orangish reddish color, and I didn't really have any markers that match that color. So what I did is experiment off camera a little bit, and I came up with a combination of Y28, RV23, which is a really bright pink, and then YR23. And those three colors combined gave me this really nice reddish orange golden tone. I really, really like it. This is probably one of my favorite images I have ever colored, if that tells you anything. And I then just used some W0 for a little bit of shading on the white areas. I really love how that came out. And for the acorn, I used E21 and E25 up on the top area, and then E15 and E18 down on the bottom area. And I just kind of dotted here and there with the darker brown on that top area just to give it the illusion of shading. For my cute little hedgehog, I used E41, E43, E47, and E49. Lots of E40s there. And again, I looked online, found a picture I liked, and I tried to mimic it with the hedgehog. They kind of have these little white pokey spikes, so I tried to capture that. It's a little difficult to do, but if you start out with that light color and then fill in the areas that you want to be darker, I find that it's a little bit easier to accomplish those little white spikes. Now, I do off camera go ahead and come in with a white gel pen on my images just to highlight those, to create some more spikes, to create some cute little ear fur on the fox and things like that. For my background, I'm using the Fall Trees 6x9 stencil set, and this set is awesome. It does come with coordinating dies. I'm not going to be using those today, but there are so many possibilities with this stencil set. First, I've taken a piece of masking paper and I've just used a pencil to go ahead and outline the inside of the stenciled tree that I'm going to be making, because I'm going to do a row of 3 of these trees. So I've got my masking paper there, and I'm starting out with my center tree. You can use dye inks or hybrid inks with these stencils. If you're going to use dye inks, I would just recommend making sure that you're using some complementary colors when you're working with the layering stencil. I'm using a hybrid ink here, and they layer really well because they kind of have an opaque finish. So I've gone in with some Mowed Lawn, and then just along the bottom I use some Rustic Wilderness to give it a little bit of shading. And now I'm going to make sure it's nice and dry before I put my mask on there. I just don't want the mask to pick up any of the color. It would probably be fine, but better safe than sorry. So I did dry it a little bit. And once I get my mask on there, I can repeat the same process on the right side and then also on the left hand side. So again, coming in with the mowed lawn and then using the rustic wilderness along the bottom and edges just to create a little bit of shading. Once I'm done with all three, I can go ahead and peel up that masking paper and you get this really fun effect here. For the second layer, I'm coming in with some spiced marmalade as well as some barn door, and these are going to give me little pops of fall color. Now, if I wanted to use these trees for a summertime scene or a springtime scene, I could come in and just use a darker shade of green, or I could skip this layer altogether. So this is a really, really versatile set. I love these layering stencils. Again, once I'm done with that center, I'm going to make sure it is nice and dry before I put down my masking paper. I'm just reusing that same piece, and in hindsight you probably could just do the whole center tree and then put the masking paper down and do the other trees. That way you're not pulling it off and on several times, but this worked well for me too. So once I have all of those cute little leaves added in there, I'm going to come in and add my tree trunk. I'm using gathered twigs, and this ink color does have a little bit of a gray tone to it, so it looks more natural. I really, really like how these turned out. They're so cute. And I went ahead and just used some Post-it tape to mask for this layer. I didn't really need to put that mask back on there because I just had the Post-it tape there because I was using it on the edges of my stencil a little bit earlier. So I grabbed it and put it on, and there we go. I've got my finished 3 trees. These look so cool. I love it. I'm going to come in now with the Clouds and Hills 4x9 stencil, and I'm just going to create a hill underneath my trees there. I just lined up the stencil until it touched the bottom of all of the trees, and then again I came in with some mowed lawn and some rustic wilderness. These A2 rounded rectangle dies are new and they are really cool. I'm going to cut out my little scene here with a second to largest one, and then I'm going to use the largest one to cut out a piece from this Neutral Dots and Stripes 6x6 paper pad in this kind of taupe color. I think it's really pretty in that color. Next, I'm stamping my sentiment. I am using pigment ink here because I am stamping directly onto that oxide. Now, if you do this, definitely want to use some pigment ink because otherwise it's not going to stamp well on top of those distress oxides. So now I can finish putting my card together here. I've got my little fox. I've put some double-sided adhesive foam squares from ThermoWeb on there, and I'm going to pop him in place. And if you noticed, I did get a little bit of ink on my card panel, but I was able to cover it right up, no issues with my little fox. And then I'm using some liquid adhesive to adhere my tree stump so I can create some dimension here. The tree stump will look like it's a little bit farther back than the fox and the hedgehog, because the hedgehog I'm popping up again with the ThermoWeb squares. Now I'm going to glue down my card panel here to the background piece with some liquid adhesive. But first I want to come in and show you what I'm going to do with the card base. I decided to use the new Acorns background stamp. It does have these really fun coordinating stencils that you can use to fill in the stamp once you're done. I'm not doing that today. Today I'm going to go ahead and stamp it with a really light gray ink. And I've done a double stamping here because I wanted it to be a little bit darker, but very versatile. This set, you could do some selective coloring in the stencils, really fun, lots of different options. But I just wanted to have this peek from back behind my card panel. So now you can see I'm going to go ahead and glue that with the liquid adhesive, but first I'm going to drop it on my workspace and then try not to get any glue on my other pieces. So once I cleaned up my desk a little bit, I came in here with some foam tape from ThermoWeb so I can pop this panel up on top of the card base that has that beautiful acorn background stamp. I just love how that looks in the soft gray. I think it looks awesome. So now I'm going to pop that on there. It's going to give it a little bit of dimension, and it's just going to look really, really cool having those acorns peek out the sides. So once I get this where I like it, I'm going to add some finishing touches here to my card. I am going to put in a couple of sequins that I had in my stash. Now these are little leaf-shaped sequins, which I thought were kind of fun with the theme. And then I am using some R22 to give my little critters some cheeks. I decided they needed a little bit of cute pops of color on them, so I added those little cheeks on there. And then I am using a tiny dot of glossy accents on each of their noses. Now you did see me color that acorn at the beginning. I ultimately did not use it on the front of my card, but I decided it would be fun to go ahead and glue it on the inside of my card to add a cute little accent on the inside there. So I've got that down in the bottom right hand corner. So here is my finished card, you guys. I am really, really happy with how this turned out. I think all of these items work so well together. I can see so many other uses for them. Please be sure to hit the like and subscribe, as well as the notification bell, so that I can continue bringing you more crafty content in the future. Until next time, happy crafting.